Hello, Leapers, and welcome back to the Quantum Leap Podcast. I'm Albie. I'm here with Chris today, and we are so fortunate to have with us Wilder Yari. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing, Albie? Also, Chris.
Good. They played Dean on The Family Treasure, so very, very excited to have you, main guest star, and we want to know everything about the episode and the filming, but first we want to know a little bit more about you. One of the things I was curious is how did you get started in the business? Like, what made you want to be an actor?
Oh man, great question. I've thought about this a lot, and I think the moment I realized I wanted to be an actor was watching a behind the scenes of Robin Williams doing the genie from Aladdin. Just like watching him in the booth, I was like, that's so cool. How do people get paid to do that? Yeah, and it was like a hobby, and then I ended up going to school for it, and I don't know, somewhere around like 14, 15, I was like, yeah, this is the thing I want to do forever. And I've been fortunate to get to do it and talk to cool people like you.
Cool. So if they approach you to be the genie in a new Aladdin.
Oh my God. An absolute, I would like just combust, burst into flames. If you know anyone at Disney, have them call me.
The Florida connection. You can maybe facilitate that. Get on that, Albie. Get on that.
I'll work on it. I got people. So when did you first try it? Was it like a school play kind of thing or community theater or something?
Yeah, it was community theater. I would love to plug this right now, actually. So there's this program in New York. I'm from Brooklyn, as we all know at this point. But I'm from Brooklyn, and I started with this community theater program called Downtown Art. It's in the East Village, and it was essentially like run by teenagers under this like one like artistic director named Ryan Gillum. She's amazing, and it was like teens like from 12 to like 18 were like running the lights, acting and stuff, building the sets, moving the sets, writing the music. And it was really, really cool. It felt like this, like, I don't know, like in Peter Pan, like the Lost Boys kind of thing. It felt like that. And that was like, I started doing that when I was 12, and the lead of the show like dropped out or something. And I got to be the lead. And it was in this, like, we did shows out of this converted apartment in the East Village. And I just remember being like, this is the coolest thing that has ever happened. Like, how do I do this forever?
Yeah, that's a neat scene down there. I've been to many little black box theaters down in the East Village. KGB Bar is a good place to go see authors read and stuff like that.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
I think such a thriving scene.
Close, yeah.
Yeah. So you are a Brooklyn native. How did you make the transition from the coast to coast? Did you stay there for long, or what was that journey like?
Easy. So my whole family is still back in New York. And I went to Emerson in Boston. And then it was sort of this, I knew I wanted to be an actor. And the question's like, do you want to move home or do you want to try LA? And I knew that I wanted to be in film and TV anyway. So I was like, I know I'm going to be back to New York for sure. So why move back to New York and just stay there for the rest of my life? So yeah, I was really, really fortunate that a lot of Emerson kids are film kids. So I moved out with this, like, it was like this genesis of like 20 kids that all moved to LA around the same time. So yeah, it was a nice soft landing.
So how do you start out? Do you obviously probably auditioning for everything there is? Did you get some commercial work, or how did that work?
Man, it's funny because I said it was a nice soft landing, but it really wasn't. The first year I moved to LA as a New Yorker, as a East Coast city person, I was like, this makes no sense. I hate it here, like crying all the time. I learned how to drive like last year. I've been here for like 6 years at this point, and I failed my test 7 times. Like failed the driving test 7 times. Like 8th time's the charm, I guess. It was a rough go of it. I was submitting myself on Actors Access like every single day, just begging anyone to represent me, bounced around from like a lot of managers and agents and tried to do commercial work. I think I did just all kinds of, oh my God, actually the first acting job I got in LA was this like artist's piece where she was recreating like this Nightlines interview with Madonna. And I got the role of Madonna. So it was like, I was filming this interview that she was doing in some garage in Chinatown. And I was like 22 and I was like, my God, this is never going to turn around for me. Like, this is not going to happen.
I could see that. You got that kind of vibe, that cool vibe that she had, when she was younger. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah. I have no idea how it ended up working out, but yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
And that turned into series work. I see you did the 4400, the new version. I'm very familiar with the original, not so much the new one. I can't wait to watch that. Tell me about that.
That was amazing. That was like my first like big gig. And yeah, like that was such a special moment in time, especially because like it's a reimagining of the original, but it's like very queer, very people of color forward. Majority of the cast was Black. The like showrunner was a Black woman. There was like just gays and people of color like coming out of the woodwork on that show. And I was really lucky to be there. Also, like they kept bringing me back. I was only supposed to be there for a couple of episodes, but they kept extending my contract. So I was living in this hotel in Chicago and just sort of kept being there and getting to hang out with the writers, many of whom I'm still like very close with to this day. And also all of the series regs, it was like a lot of their first series reg like opportunity. So a lot of them were like 22. Like I think the youngest person was like 19. And it was this very like special moment where they were all kind of coming up together. And it was my first big gig as well. So yeah, I will always have a really special place in my heart for that time.
How did the part on Quantum Leap come about?
The Quantum Leap thing just happened because my reps were like, do you want to audition for this? And I was like, yes, I would love to. That's like a very traditional kind of situation.
So then did you audition, put yourself on tape, or how did that work?
Yeah, fully audition, put myself on tape. I worked with this amazing reader, Julie Meyer. She's someone that I work with quite a bit, and she's amazing. Shout out to Julie. And yeah, I really didn't think that this was going to pan out, to be honest with you. Like, it's not that I thought I like wouldn't get it, but it's not one of those tapes where I was like, nailed it in the bag. I was like, yeah, I think I did okay.
If you can speak a little bit to the experience of being a non-binary actor trying to make it in Hollywood, are there like two separate Hollywoods where is there a community, I'm sure, of like the queer community that maybe comes together, but is there limited access for actors like you for roles in more mainstream stuff? Like, I don't know if I have a real question there. I'm just so interested in the dynamic that you as a non-binary actor face in the community that you've devoted yourself to. I imagine that in many ways it makes it a little bit harder for you.
That's a great question. I appreciate it. I would say it is really dynamic and depends person to person. I would say something that is pretty difficult is there's definitely an idea of what a non-binary actor or non-binary like role look like. And I admit that I'm very much like within that sort of like androgynous, but not really leaning one way or the other. So I think Hollywood is still kind of expanding its idea of what non-binary looks like on screen. And that ends up shutting out a lot of people like kind of in different places on the spectrum. For instance, like I've been non-binary, but I've been like out about it for a couple of years now. And I remember when I was first trying to audition for non-binary roles, I had like long hair and looked much more feminine, and I was not getting called in, not getting called back, like zero. They definitely have an idea about what that looks like. And I do think that it's expanding, with more representation on screen. But yeah, I think it's just tough for casting and for even writers to a certain extent, where they're like not really sure how to like place a lot of actors. They're like, oh, you look like a girl, so we're going to cast you in girl roles. Are you cool with that? And I'm fine with it. I'm fine playing female roles as long as they're interesting. But some actors aren't. I think it can really differ person to person.
One of the things I love about Quantum Leap is it's so inclusive, and it's so like it's reflective of the real world. It's not it includes people that we all know and or are. And were you familiar with the show before you booked the role?
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember Mason getting cast and being really excited about that. And also, Chris, you're right. Like the non-binary, like actor world in Hollywood is pretty small. A lot of us know each other or like know of each other. So Mason and I hadn't met. We actually met on the show, and they're lovely. Like I'm sure you know this. They're one of the sweetest people that I've like. Definitely one of the sweetest like series regs that I've encountered on set, in that they went out of their way to be like, oh my gosh, I heard there's a non-binary actor. I would love to meet you. Just like, can't say enough good things. I was familiar with the show because Mason got cast, and I was like, Quantum Leap. It like rang a distant bell, and I was like, oh right, yes, 80s, right, totally. Definitely something that my parents are a little more familiar with. Not an original watcher. My skin is not that good, but just getting familiar with it. I've watched some episodes and like really loved it. Yeah.
So what did you think of the script when you received it?
I honestly, so it's interesting because I'm sure you guys have heard that the script changed a lot between the original writing and what ended up getting shot, which is pretty.
We didn't know
really?
that, so explain it to us. That'd be great.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Because we know and love Shakina, but we want to find out more.
Shakina is amazing. Another person I can't say enough good things about. I know it sounds like I've been like coached to be like, everyone's so great, but really everyone is so great. Yeah, so, okay, well, originally the story was about 3 siblings and like going on this treasure hunt for their dad, very similar to the story that you saw. But yeah, originally there were 3 siblings, and then we went as far as like our first day. We didn't shoot anything, but we came in to do photos, and it was 3 siblings. And then during that shoot, one of our siblings was like feeling really sick. She's like, I don't know, I don't feel so good, like no color in the face, just like, and we were like, we're all a little worried about her. It wasn't COVID. There weren't COVID symptoms. It was more like, what's it called? Like stomach bug, maybe, like just wasn't looking so hot. And I was like, you're fine. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. And then she's like, I think I might pass out. And we were like, maybe not so okay. So overnight, those 3 siblings had to get written down to 2. Especially with like, we didn't really realize this at the time, but like all of the stunts that happened, like she would have been in actual danger if she had like followed through and tried to tough it out. So yeah, the script changed quite a bit almost overnight, and I really got to give it up to Hollie. She absorbed most of the lines of that other character. I did like a little, but mostly her. So yeah, I can't really speak to like what was it like when I first got it, because very quickly it was like, and we're doing something else.
So there were going to be 3 siblings plus Ray's character. So it was going to be 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Right. Yes. I was thinking 3 siblings plus Ray. Yeah.
Right. No, but that's to me is amazing, because the 3 of you on the show played off each other so well, and the dynamics seemed to be there. Like it was designed to be there. So I can't even imagine putting another character into the episode that we saw. It'd be interesting to read the script to see how they differentiated the 4th sibling from the 3 of you that were on screen.
Yeah, I think you're right, because initially the 4th sibling was written as this sort of like dreamer, bookish type. So there was like oldest sister, which is sort of similar to the one that you saw, that's like very put together. She has kids. She's like stomping on the dreams. Middle sibling that Hollie was supposed to play, that is kind of, this like romantic but sort of buttoned down career girl, me, and then Nadia, who Ray played.
Right. Baby sister.
Yeah.
That's neat. We're going to ask Shakina all about that, aren't we, Albie?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
totally.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah. So you guys had some pretty great locations that you were shooting in, and I just want to back up a little bit and say how excited I was to see this episode just from reading the description of it, because it seemed like I said it on our last podcast. It seemed like an episode based on like Romancing the Stone or an adventure movie from the '80s,
Totally.
and it was that and more. And I loved the exotic locations that you guys were able to go to, or seemingly exotic anyway. Can you talk about some of the location shooting? I'm interested in that little Mexican town. I'm also interested in all of that cave work.
Oh, yeah, totally. Okay. So have you guys spoken to Jude yet?
No, you're the first. You're the first.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. So Jude is going to say a million times that she was so inspired by the Goonies. And it comes up like the whole set. She was like, Goonies up, Goonies together. All of these shots are so reminiscent. So yeah, exactly what you're talking about. This like 80s adventure movie. It was like Indiana Jones, Goonies. So you're right on with that. I'm glad that ended up translating. So the little Mexican town was all the backlot at Universal.
Okay.
Wow. Except for we shot a little bit in my God, where like Santa Clarita. Mm-hmm. Way out, and then like you drove down a dirt road for like 15 minutes, and that was really cool. We did some cave stuff in Santa Clarita as well. Yeah, it was a blast. I'd never been on the Universal backlot before. Like I'd never even been on a tour or anything. Like bad Angelino, but it was super magical, especially all of the stunts that we ended up doing like on the backlot. I was like, this is crazy that like, wow, this is all just here, all this and more.
Was that main scenes that we saw in the cave? You said you did some cave work out in Santa Clarita. Was those the cavern scenes, or was that more of a set?
It was a combination. So there were some things that we did in actual, wait, I'm fully making that up. Wait, no, I'm so sorry. Okay, so yes, Santa Clarita, out in the middle of nowhere. Like the main street of the Mexican town, that's in Santa Clarita. But then like the Mexican church backlot, I think. Mm-hmm. God, you guys, I'm like mixing it all up and all together. But I think also like in Santa Clarita, they like built caves. They were like these like caves that exist, not actual from the earth caves, but like these like sets, but on location. And then that big main scene where we're like we pull the stone out, we have the big confrontation. Mm-hmm. That was fully on a stage, like in Burbank.
It was really cool. I had suspension of disbelief throughout the entire thing. I was so swept up in so many aspects of the episode. So that really worked. I can't wait to compliment everybody, but you're the first one, so I'm going to gush first at you. Okay. Well,
always here to absorb it. Thank you.
I really enjoyed the dynamic between the different actors in this episode and the adventure feel, but in particular, I really enjoyed your vibe, your character's vibe, and like energy and your voice, and I feel like it was almost a mini evolution of the character through the episode, and like you became the ultimate character for me when you put the leather jacket on. And I was just like, wow, that's like the modern day Indiana Jones or something. And I was just like, I was just like swept up. Can you tell me about like your thoughts on the character and like what you brought to the character?
Oh, wow. First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Wow. Thoughts on this character. It was really great to play someone that was already who they are as a transmasculine person, meaning in a lot of these narratives, these like trans or non-binary narratives, we see characters sort of like coming into their own, kind of playing with, which does happen in a sense in this episode. But right when you meet Dean, like they've already got the short hair, they're already presenting in masculine clothes, their body language is very like, they're very comfortable in who they are. And when they talk to their siblings, it's not like, it's clear that they don't necessarily feel shame about who they are. They're like, I'm asking you to come on board with me, but I'm not like, is it okay if, and I, to be honest with you, like kind of struggled with that because I was like, is this realistic? Is this accurate? And then I did some research on like gender nonconforming people throughout history because we've existed throughout history. And I found this amazing photo, this person who I can't remember right now, but their exact name, but it's this amazing photo from 1947 of these two like gender nonconforming people that looked a lot like me in my costume. And this photo was them in a police precinct because they'd gotten picked up for like cross-dressing essentially. And it was like a little write-up about their story. It was like a police record that they were like living together. They worked in a factory where they met and were dressing in men's clothing. And like the look in their eyes was so comfortable. Like they were just like, it's so funny that you picked me up. Like there was no like fear or shame or hesitation. They were just like, I'm living my life. Like, and yeah, getting to do that research really encouraged me, really inspired me. I was like, right, yes, if this person would exist, there's this world in which this person existed just how they are.
Thank you for elaborating on that and for talking about the research, because a lot of the times when I have a disconnect, when I'm watching stories that feature gay characters, non-binary characters, anyone from the queer community, really, especially in a time travel show like Quantum Leap,
Totally.
I think, okay, we've all always been here.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter the era, but the representation, how it's portrayed in certain time periods, it sometimes takes me out of it because I think, would it really be that way? Or are we kind of looking back on the way we wanted it to be? Or is it a little bit of a mix of both? So I guess that maybe goes to Albie's question about how you're prepared and some of what you said, but it's nice to know that what we're seeing on screen is somewhat accurate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's always a lingering question I've had because the show has done so many different characters from the community that I can't help but think, is this someone who would have been this comfortable expressing themselves in that era?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I totally hear you. And I have definitely had those same questions. And I sort of feel the same way when I watch historical shows. But definitely the research, if you dig a little bit and you see all these people that were just very simply existing, it's like, wow, yeah, this story did exist in these like little pockets. Just maybe we don't hear about them all the time, or maybe we don't. It wasn't like the dominant narrative, of course. And also there definitely was a narrative, like there were norms to buck against. But I just think about that photo of those two people. I'm totally going to look it up just like in a second. But I think of this photo of these two people and their whole story about just being who they are and not giving a damn. I was like, that person is Dean and that person existed. Those two people existed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks for that insight.
Yeah.
That is great. One of the things I love about Quantum Leap is it educates people. It educates the audience. It educates me. And my mother, for example, she was born in 1936. So when she first started watching this incarnation of Quantum Leap, she was familiar with the original because I've been a fan my whole life. So she figured she'd try the new one. And honestly, she was confused about Ian and Mason at the beginning, which is understandable because she was never exposed to it. But now she's like the biggest fan of Ian and Mason and loves everything. So, and I think it's great to have these episodes that come up, like Let Them Play last season and this season, just to educate people that might not be familiar or haven't looked into it or don't have a loved one or don't know they have a loved one that might fit into this community. But I guess my question is, when you got the script, and especially the script, the part of the script about the binding and the reveal and the talking to your sibling, is that true to your story, or did you bring anything to it? Was there a conversation with Shakina about how to make it more true? Because I learned a lot from that. I had no idea about that part.
Oh yeah, that is a great question. Yeah, thank you for asking. So binding with bandages has not been a part of my experience because I've been fortunate enough to grow up in a time where that is sort of known not to do, because it's really bad for you. Compresses your lungs and can damage muscle tissue and all that. So that wasn't part of my experience necessarily, but it was something that Shakina talked about quite a bit, because she and the costume department were like, well, do you want to wear a binding garment? We can make something for you that kind of looks like binding. And actually I was the one that was like, no, I think I want to bind for real. Not from a method perspective necessarily, but because first of all, the stuff that the costume department is incredible, as we all know on this show, but the stuff that they made just didn't look right. It didn't look how it was supposed to look, because the point of the garment is to flatten your chest. But it didn't. It just looked like a very nice tube top. And I was like, this isn't really doing. So yeah, I'm actually bound. But this was only after Shakina, the costume department, multiple people were like, are you cool with this? Are you sure? And it was my decision. And I will tell you from personal experience now, after a couple of days of doing that, I was like, this is absolute torture. I don't know how people do this. Wow, that's so bad for you.
Were you bound throughout all of your scenes for the authenticity, or was it just for the scene when you were in the field?
It was just for the scenes in the field. I initially thought about doing like binding all the way through, and then the garment wasn't ready necessarily. We were still sort of like tinkering with it because the script was changing, etc. So it ended up being something that we decided later. And I had all these stunts to do, and I was like, this is just not pragmatic to like be bound and be like running and ducking and hiding. And it just, yeah, I was like, there's authenticity and then there's torturing yourself, I think. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Talk to us about the stunts, because it was a very stunt heavy, exciting episode with the water and the rocks. Just take us through the whole process.
Oh my God, guys. I am not an athletic person. That's why I got into theater, to be honest with you. What's it called? It's not astigmatism. It's like one eye is nearsighted, one eye is farsighted, so I can't catch a ball at all. So I was like, well, I guess I'll join. No one's picking me for dodgeball. I guess I'll hang out with the theater kids. So learning that I would do stunts was really exciting and really something that I was really enthusiastic to do. So, okay, we're in this backlot. It's this nice big like sloping hill, and I didn't know exactly what we were gonna do. I didn't know how much water we would be dealing with because I'd never experienced anything like this before. But when we saw they did a run with our stunt doubles, and watching them like run, it was like gallons and gallons and gallons of water. We're getting like pumped from around the corner, so all of this is like rushing down, and they are truly running away from it, leaping over this rock, hiding behind it, and the water like splashes over them. So they did that first, and it's like me, Hollie, Ray, just like standing behind the camera, like, are we gonna do that? They want us to do that? And yes, they did, but in a much more, in like a slower, a little bit more controlled environment. But yeah, it was incredible because, so we only got to do it like a couple of times because we were soaked to the bone, and it just, you can't like dry off completely, reset, etc. But there was this moment where it's me and Ray and Hollie, and we're going for like this crane shot. So the camera's on this crane looking dead in front of us. We're running towards it as the water rushes behind us. But it's the movement of the camera is to like stay with us, and then like come up and over. So there's this moment, it's like midnight on a Friday. We're like I might be exaggerating slightly, but midnight-ish on a Friday, already soaking wet, standing with these two people. There's a camera on this massive machine, like trained in front of me, and I'm looking down the lens and I have this moment, I'm like tense, waiting for Maria, the AD, to call water, and then we start running. That's the plan. I have this moment where I'm like, this is the coolest job ever. This is like the coolest job in the world. Yeah, it was really fun, really exciting. After every take, we were soaking wet, absolutely freezing, and like maniacally laughing, like just from the adrenaline. Just like, did we really do that? We just got like pounds and pounds and pounds of water just like splashed over us. That was crazy. Yeah.
The falling rocks in the cave. What was that day like?
Falling rocks in the cave. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, way easier, you guys. way easier. There's all these foam rocks. Oh, but you know what was really fun? That stunt, it's like a light stunt, but doing a stunt where I like dive for the key at the same time as Wells, who is, I would love to take a moment to shout him out as well. I love Veep. It's like my comfort show. And I've like, nobody tells you who you're working with. And we're seeing him on set and being like, I love you. Oh my God. But like, it was too cool to tell him at the time, but he was playing Wells. We were both like, I think we were both kind of diving for this. I was truly diving. He was like diving a little bit because he has bad knees and stuff. But he was ad-libbing these like really funny, I don't know if it actually made it into the episode yet, but there's this moment where Ray like launches towards him to try and get the key after I throw the rock and it doesn't do anything. Where he's like, "Whoa, little lady! Like, don't run at me." And we were all like giggling the whole time. But that's neither here nor there. To the moment where I was diving for the key it was really great. And then these like foam rocks fell on me. Yeah, I don't know. It was really fun to like actually kind of do the thing that you're trying to do, if that makes sense. Most of the time when you're acting, you're faking whatever emotion it really is. You're holding a cup full of nothing, etc. But to actually run from gallons and gallons of water, to actually dive for something like you really, really want it, it's honestly such a like gift as an actor, because you're just able to react organically as opposed to try to, find what if I'm trying to die, what sounds most real, what sounds like an authentic death. Yeah.
What's it like to have a stunt person on set dressed exactly like you?
So weird, you guys. It's so weird. Yeah, my stunt double's name was Blake, and yeah, stunt people are a different breed. They just don't. There's like something, like in the coolest way, their brains just function differently. Like they did all that crazy water stuff that I was telling you about, and they just all just like got back up and they're like shrug it off like nothing happened. And me and Ray and Hollie are all like panting and crying and just like, I can't believe we did that. And they're like, "Oh, do you want us to go again? Do you want us to run again?" Like it was, yeah. But it's super weird. To answer your question.
Cool. One thing I noticed when setting up these interviews for this episode was everybody on the team seems to be really close between Jude, Shakina, you, Hollie. What was the whole dynamic between like you and Hollie on the set?
Oh my God, I'm so excited I get to talk about her first. She is amazing. Like she is okay. So we lost our other sibling very quickly, and it was very like it was her and me very quickly being like, okay, this is us now. We're gonna take care of this together. It wouldn't have been as good. I haven't seen it yet, but acting with her felt incredible. There's an enormous amount of trust that we had, I think, because we had all this work to do together with learning all these lines. We were sort of like doing these stunts, just shouldering a lot of this together as like kind of the what's the word, like the key guest members of that family. So it was like us trying to navigate like Quantum Leap world together. She is a formidable actor, and yeah, I can't say enough good things. We recently hung out at the season wrap party, and I'm like, oh, I love that woman so much.
Is there anything we'd be surprised to know about the filming of the episode that we might not necessarily get from watching it?
Wow, that's a great question. Okay, let me think. Stuff that you wouldn't know about the episode necessarily from watching it. Oh, okay. This was just weird for me to watch. But so we're in the house, the family house. We're open the safe and all these gems come out. The way that this team just drilled, like cut into a wall of this house so that they could put the camera in it. I was like, can you do that? Like, it's not a stage. It's a full house on the back lot where all of these shows have been shot and movies, and I can't remember any of them right now, of course. But yeah, they just cut straight into the wall, and I was shocked and mildly horrified. I was like, is this allowed? So yeah, that happened. Also, so I'm very, very lucky, very fortunate to have writers and casting that care about this kind of thing, but they found out that I'm Middle Eastern. My mother is from Iran, and they changed a lot of the story. Like they changed the ethnicity of the dad, and there are all of these touches in I think they changed they changed all of our names. And there are all these production touches throughout the house that are Middle Eastern. Like when we're doing these intro scenes, it's like the stuff with the will reading and all that. There are all these like little touches, the tea set, the snacks. Like it was so surprising the way they just like pulled that out of a props house. It was like so beautiful, so exact. Yeah, and I don't think you would know that if you didn't know. Yeah,
that's amazing. Like it's so heartwarming to hear that everyone at the production really cares about that sort of detail and not just go over there and do your line. You know,
Totally. Yeah, it was like down to all of these like little tiny things, and I was like, oh, really? What? Oh my god.
It's funny. We have so much to talk about, and I feel like there is a key thing that I do want to talk about because it was basically the central part of the episode, and it was the scene where Dean is explaining who they are.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching, I go from this giddy excitement of this adventure episode, and by the time you were done with that scene, I was crying.
Oh.
And like I said, there were so many highs and feels for me in this episode. I'm trying to constrain myself from getting too effusive, but
yeah.
I want to know a little bit about how that scene was directed, how it came together, how much of your background you brought to that, and because it was just so effective on every level. Everybody nailed it. Even Mason, who's watching it back in the cave, and right. They're not with you, you're not with them, but right. it all gelled perfectly.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot. Yeah. Well, let me think. In terms of what made that scene, I really think a lot of it comes down to Jude, to be honest, Jude and Hollie, because we'll talk about Shakina in a minute, and that is another woman that I'm like, I owe my life to you. I love you. But I was coming at it from a particular angle. Initially, I was coming at it from this very it was kind of what we were talking about before, like not necessarily shame, but a much more vulnerable place where I was like, please see me, please accept me, I'm asking you to do this. And Jude was like, and Shakina as well, were like, you are not really asking them, you are offering Ray and Hollie a chance to be closer to you, you are giving them an opportunity to see you, and if they don't see it, it doesn't change who you are. Which was crazy. Like I was like, what? Whoa. But yeah, I think that was really the key to the entire thing. And yeah, honestly, I got to give it up to Hollie's huge brown eyes. Like we have multiple scenes together where both of us just like don't intentionally just like kind of start crying or just trying to get through the damn thing. But like the binder scene where she gives me a binder and the scene where I like show her the bandages, both of us were like fighting tears the whole time. So yeah, Jude, Shakina, Hollie's giant brown eyes for sure.
Yeah, it was a very touching scene, very genuine, very just perfect, I think, in every way.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I just love the way that it. I don't know. I guess you expect a little bit more, like a dramatic thing, but it was just so matter of fact. It was so straightforward, and I think that's what was the biggest selling point to me about the scene, is that it just seemed like an organic moment. It wasn't like a bunch of hysterics
Totally.
or no, you don't get me. It's like, this is who I am. And then
Absolutely.
I think at the end, you were able to say thank you for seeing me,
Yeah.
and that's, I just lost it. So
Totally. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You alluded to it earlier, but tell me about working with Shakina.
Oh my God. Okay. I met Shakina at my fitting. So it's like the week before. Yeah. And everyone is super nice at HQ in Burbank. Of course, I'm meeting all these people. They're like, well, the writers would like to meet you. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, great. So get pulled into a room, and immediately this like 6 foot tall, like Amazon woman looks at me, and I look at her, and we're just like, oh my God, hi, like, hello. We both just like, I mean, I can't speak for her, but I melted immediately. It felt very like, it almost felt like we'd like known each other before. And I know, again, it sounds like PR coaching, but really, and she really like took me under her wing that whole set. She is very like maternal, I got you, baby kind of energy. She made sure that my costuming was on point. She made sure that certain angles were like, I don't know how to explain this, but like, okay. She made sure that like the camera treated me the way I would want to be treated, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, shooting at an angle that isn't quite as low, because the jeans that I was wearing in certain angles, it was like, that's a butt. That's like a feminine figure. And she's like, you need to lift it. You need to lift the camera just like an inch. I'm telling you. But stuff like that, which is like, it's a really strong argument. For why we need people from the stories that you're telling behind the camera. Like, I would say almost more important than in front of it. She was the reason that, she helped me through that entire binder situation. She worked with me on the lines when I needed to get massaged a little bit. I also give a lot of credit to her co-writer, Adrita. I actually don't know if they're co-writers or if, I don't really know what the situation was there, but Adrita was also very, very helpful. But specifically having a trans person, a member of the community kind of on my side, like, meant everything to me.
Cool.
And your relationship with Jude during the shoot.
Oh man. Yeah. Jude is so cool. Jude is like it's like a summer camp vibe. She's a really good director though. Is like, okay. She sounds like someone that maybe was an actor at some point. The way that she can connect to actors on she'll say stuff that I'm like, oh my God, you're a genius. Like she'll be like, can you invite her in this scene? Can you support her? And if you're not getting it, she will give you she's like, paint the picture. She will work with you on whatever level you need to be worked with. But also is like shooting the shit with the grips. And like, I noticed that I do a little bit of directing myself, and it was a really helpful like learning moment to watch the way that she was really good at saying yes to people. Really good at being like, yeah, you want to do that? That's great. Yeah, I like that. Like, sure. You think of, at least I think of directors as being almost dictatorial, or they can be. Whereas I found with her, and the show moves at a really quick pace, I found with her that she had this strength in being able to bend where she needed to. So when she had to make a point, it was respected all the way around. And people just did whatever the hell she was like, okay, so you're going to get like gallons of water to the face. And we were like, yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I have to know, what was it like working with Ray?
Ray is a really, really giving actor. Especially like you don't always get a series reg that's willing to like sit through the takes and really work with you, but he was amazing. He has like the kindest eyes, and it was like, we're going 3-4 takes, we're in caves, we're inhaling all kinds of dust, and he's like, yep, 15 take. Yep, absolutely. And is like really sitting with every single person he worked with. So yeah, can't say enough good things about him either, actually.
He just seems so lovely. Love that guy. Okay, I have one key question, kind of like Chris did, but this one is, who got to keep the key from the shoot?
Yeah, actually, nobody kept the key, surprisingly, but I was really desperate to take a piece of this set back because it was such a wonderful experience, that I like begged and pleaded to keep my cowboy hat.
Wow.
And they let me at like my last day. I came back to my trailer and there was a cowboy hat sitting on the little counter in my trailer with a note from Costumes that was like, "You've been lovely. Here's a little souvenir for you." And I truly screamed. Yeah, it's like, it's got the dust on it. The thing is, like, somebody was like, "Why don't you just like I was telling the actors, the PAs, I was like, "I really want this hat." And they're like, "Why don't you just get a copy? It's like not an expensive hat." And I was like, "It's got the dust on it. I want the dust."
It's cool.
That is very cool. Something you can hold on to for a lifetime.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's really about the dust, not about the hat.
It's right? About the dust, not the hat. Yeah.
Hashtag, that'll be our new t-shirt. It's about the dust, not the hat. We'll have Wilder's hat. Yeah. It's going to be the bestseller in our shop if we ever get an online shop.
Totally.
So, well, I mean, Wilder, we have taken far too much of your time. We always lie and say it's going to be about a half an hour, but everybody's so interesting. We just want to keep talking. But we want to be cognizant, and we want to thank you for all of the great stuff that you brought us. Do you have any messages for the Leapers out there before we wrap up?
Oh my gosh, messages for the Leapers. Thank you for making the show what it is. It was such a joy to work on, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you.
And it wouldn't be possible without great actors like you. Thank you, Wilder Yari, for appearing with us here on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Oh, you guys are the best. All right.